In this episode of the IT Experts podcast, we talk with Matt Newton about why your story is important. Welcome to the IT Experts podcast, the only podcast to help MSPs scale to 1 million, and if already there, get to 5 and go faster. At the end of the day, isn't it all about building a business that works for you rather than you for it? I hope you enjoy the show. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the IT Experts podcast. And today we've got a really special show. I mean, most shows are pretty special to be fair, but today is a really good one because we're going to be diving in and picking the brains of a guy called Matt Newton. Now, Matt is a serial 7-figure MSP leader and a digital transformation evangelist. Now, there's not many people who've had that length title on this show, so get your notepads ready. Welcome to the show, Matt.
Hello, Ian. Good to be here.
How are you doing today? All right?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm
Good
fair
man.
to middling. That's all you can hope for, isn't it?
Fair to me. I wasn't expecting that. This is going to be one of the pillar shows, and where we're going to be helping you to take your story, your why, all this kind of fluffy sort of tosh that you hear people talking about all the time. And we're going to be putting it into some tactical and some practical, tactical things that you can do in your business that's going to help you get more engagement out of your team, drive it, get more excited about the business that you're running rather than getting ground down by it. And Matt's got a wealth of experience in this area. He's done it with a couple of MSPs now, and we're going to pick his brains and learn all about why your story is important. But before we get into the main bulk of the show, Matt, do you just want to explain and just share with everybody kind of who you are, what you do, who you help, what your previous have been, and what you're kind of looking at now, really?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Ian. So I've been in managed services for 25 years or so. Started just after the dot-com bubble burst. I was working for an ISP and got made redundant and thought, what am I going to do next? And fell into IT services as a result of that and never looked back. It was obviously the best thing that ever happened to me, really.
Yeah.
I started off, 25 years ago working for a small IT services provider that, before it became an IT service provider, was fixing typewriters. As well as getting involved with photocopiers and such. And then I'd become an IT service provider. But yeah, doing break fix. Then, did that for a few years as a manager and then thought, wait a minute, everybody's driving better cars than me. I should be doing this for myself.
Yeah, that's a good driver.
Yeah, so then myself and a friend joined forces with another couple of guys and we created Usha. And we grew that from zero to about 7.5 million revenue. Wonderful. And then we exited to the Access Group in 2021. Worked with those guys for a while, and then now I'm basically in the process of launching a new venture, but also annoying my family by being around too much over the last 12 months, doing a bit of traveling, and now just about to get things going again.
Love it. So look, we've got an absolute wealth of experience here. 0 to a £7.5 million MSP. You didn't do it on your own, did it with your team. We're going to learn all about that in today's show. And the power of the community. The reason that I'm talking to Matt today was he actually reached out to one of our clients to say he didn't know it was one of our clients at the time, and reached out to an MSP and said, hey, what's going on? Be interested to see what's happening and just have a chat. See what people are up to, just networking really. That's all it was. And our client went, wow, you've got to talk to this guy. He's like so energetic and he's got all these really good ideas. And when we started talking to Matt, there were so many different types of podcasts. I'm sure this isn't going to be the only podcast we're going to be doing. So many different types of experience that we could pull out of it. And it's lovely to share and give back. So thank you for your time and effort today. What we're going to be talking about is about, you, the business owner. Why are you doing what you're doing? What's the point of it? Why is it so important that we set that moral compass and that direction and that vision? And we talk about mission and values and all of this sort of stuff. And how do we bring it together? Because, there is one thing that's certain about all MSPs is that you're going to exit at some point, whether it's your choice or whether it's somebody else's choice. So what's the plan for exit? What does between now and exit look like? Even though those things might change. So what does, when we talk about your story, Matt, I think if I'd asked you this probably 5 or 6 years ago, maybe even longer than that, you probably would have gone, what the hell are you talking about? But in the terms of the context, the importance that you had of this on your life and your business. What do you mean when we talk about the MSP's business owner's story? What's that all about?
You pointed towards the fact that we kind of got together through myself reaching out to one of your clients, and that was from this year to get me out of the house as well. As I said, with myself and the family have been traveling post exit, and but I wanted to kind of make sure I kept engaged and with the sector, and got the brain going. So I started reaching out to local MSPs. So I'm based in the West Midlands. So we'll go on to talk about it, but our MSP was legal specific and accountancy. So we were very sector specific, and I'd kind of lost touch with some of the MSPs, knowing who the MSPs were in my local area, because we weren't competing geographically. So I kind of reached out, and I've been see probably about 8 MSPs locally, and had a chat with them, and just to kind of understand where they were at, share some of my experiences, and just as you say, network. But and what I discovered is, I discovered some MSPs locally that that were maybe $1.5 million in size or something when we started Usha, 10 years ago or whatever, and they were still sat around that position really. Really lovely companies, great owners, passionate owners doing a great job for their clients, but they hadn't really, moved the revenue forward. And the other thing that I discovered, which I was expecting was, these guys, these 7 or 8 MSPs that I visited, they're quite homogenous really in terms of, I'll do a bit of research on their website before, and when you look at them from the outside, there's very little in the way of differences between them. So because obviously we're all selling the same tool set. Realistically, you're just packaging it slightly differently. So when you see that and you understand that we're selling the same tools and we're doing the same things, what makes you stand out from the other people that you're competing against? When you're pitching in whatever way to a potential client, whether it's over the phone, face to face, or bumping into them at an event or whatever. What makes you stand out? Why would they want to speak to you? And really, that's what we talked about, and what I talk about in terms of what is your story as an MSP. We compete. I'm very much punching upwards in terms of the loveliness of my wife. And
this is actually about your wife, this podcast, isn't it? Because you almost said to me, Ian, you need to help me get out of the house. Yeah. Otherwise, this is just not going to end well.
but where that was going was that when I met my wife, many years ago, I told her a story about me, and she told me the story of her. This is how we meet our future wives and husbands. This is how we make friends. We share stories. That's what humans do. And business is no different to that. You want to engage with people that you like, but also you want to engage with people that can, it's a transaction, solve your challenges, create opportunities for you. So that's what it is. It's a case of, where MSPs in the main kind of the position they fall back on is, I'm comfortable talking about tech, and it's talking about those the same items that everybody else is talking about, Office 365 and such like. So when I talk about the story, it's a case of, what is your company all about? What does it do for your customers?
We're going to come into some of the detail in that in a minute. I was actually at the Managed Services Summit yesterday, the one in London, and it was refreshing to hear so many people now starting to talk about the importance of selling and educating and driving business outcome solution, marketing, selling, whatever you want to call it, as opposed to just selling the tech. People are now starting to, and this is techies now realizing that they've got to stop talking about Office 365 and they've got to be talking about, business improvement, collaboration, and all of that kind of stuff, which is really exciting. And we talk about differentiation. There'll be many MSPs, probably the ones who aren't listening to this show, going, no, we're all the same. No, I'm just going to compete on price. No, I'm just the same as everyone else. And they'll just be, whether they're an MSP or an IT support company, they'll just be, competing in the good old yellow pages, on the same thing, talking about the same stuff, and it'll be a race to the bottom on price. Because that's basically what happens. You either decide to be ambitious, change, do things a little bit differently, stay ahead of marketing trends, stay ahead of people are buying stuff completely differently now than they did before the pandemic. Absolutely. People are talking differently. They're communicating differently. They're networking differently. The world is a completely different place. So you've got two options. You either stand still or you do something about it. And this is one of the things, I heard Simon Sinek, I know you've got some time for his methodology. It all starts with why, which is really exciting. But how do you start with this sort of stuff? So, with someone sitting here listening, going, that sounds really inspiring, Matt. I'd love to grow my MSP to 7 million. I get the whole story thing, but what the bloody hell do I do to find my story? What does that look like? How did you start to approach it?
I mean, so to kind of take you back to, I love to talk about differentiators because, and Simon Sinek is great in terms of the why. And when you get into become a larger MSP and you've got a super marketing director in place, they'll talk about proposition, and that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the proposition. But when you're a small MSP owner, potentially from a tech background, it's difficult to kind of get your head around in the way of, well, what is a proposition? And it's also difficult to convey that internally as well. Because what we're talking about a story, but we're talking about a story that we tell ourselves, we tell our potential clients, we tell our existing clients, and we also tell our staff as well. So we were blessed with Usha in terms of an absolutely phenomenal team. And that team was phenomenal for multiple reasons, because of their own capabilities and the passion they showed. But that passion came from the work that we had done, understanding what our story was and what their role was within that.
Yeah.
So we're talking about proposition. We're talking about Simon Sinek's talk about why, but we diluted that into a story because we thought it was easily transferable. It was easy to get on board.
Anyone
with it,
could tell
no
it.
matter who you were, and it was easy for people to start thinking in that way. But to take you back in terms of, but that leads into differentiator. To take you back to my early days of managed services, it wasn't managed services. We were myself and my best mate, who became my colleague and then became my partner at Usha. We worked for a small IT services company, and in those it was break fix.
Yeah.
As I say, it was a typewriter repair company that became an IT services company. And for those that kind of know my background in the company, it was an unusual enterprise.
I'd love
because
to dig into that another time.
It was just the way it was run was very ad hoc, but it became more professional. But yeah, so our differentiate that at that time, I started in sales and marketing there, and the differentiator at the time is we were just more organized than anybody else from a sales and marketing point of view. Before I joined that small company, they weren't recording data. They weren't recording contract renewal dates. This is in the time of all contract renewals. Contracts were paid up front for the year, and it was very much hardware maintenance that you were selling. And our differentiator there wasn't really necessarily product or anything. It was more people. We were more organized from a sales point of view. That allowed us to grow to about 4.5 million or something when I left. So we were just more organised, and our salespeople were just better, and that was our differentiator, and that was enough. But then, as time went on, managed services started to show its face, and a couple of competitors that are still around started, using things like Hound Dog, which was the old RMM software. If anybody remembers that, I mean, it was bought by someone, and bought by somebody again in terms of but it's still the same product. So RMM, people were starting to use RMM products to be able to manage, proactively and to manage endpoints and whatever else. So that became a differentiator. The early days, it was a case of being organized, and then it was being managed, doing managed services. And your differentiator for a number of years became really whether you were better than everybody else at doing it. So you were better at being proactive, and you could go out and you could do a sales pitch, and say, look, this is, we answer the phone quicker, we respond quicker, we get to site quicker, we maybe do the proactive stuff. But we're now at the point most of the people, listening to this session, hopefully everybody, they're doing all those things really, really well already. So the differentiator of just being good at managed services, in a way, has kind of dropped off. Although there's a range of people in terms of the quality of the service they're providing. So when we set up on our own as Usha, once again, we no longer could we just say, oh, we pick up the phone quicker as a differentiator. So we had to think a little bit differently. Our first one was that our contracts became monthly. We were the first people certainly the West Midlands to do monthly contracts. When I say monthly, paid monthly rather than paid for a year up front. And that was big for us because we weren't asking for people. We were a fledgling company to pay for a service that they didn't know what the quality was going to be like. So paying monthly was a bit more comfortable for them. So that was a differentiator. And then we moved on to thinking, right, okay, what else? What's next? And for us, it became cloud, and then it became sector or so. But so, why did we start thinking in this way? If I talk about why we started thinking about it, then the kind of then the practical steps of what we did. Why did we start thinking about it that way? It was sales, wasn't it? We wanted more leads, we wanted more sales, and we were just absolutely sick of competing on price. We believed we were a quality provider, but what we would do is do a quality job, put a quality quote in that was really comprehensive, okay, but we would be just basically undercut, and the client would go with that cheaper price potentially, for a solution that probably wasn't the match of ours. So we just found it really difficult. It was we would always call it as a knife fight. It was a knife fight on price, race to the bottom, and it was really, really dispiriting, really dispiriting. And I know you do some amazing work with MSPs across the country, and we've talked before about part of your role is keeping them energized, keeping them up for the challenge, because running an MSP is a slog. It is really a slog.
Yeah, it's not easy, is it?
No, honestly, it really is, and it's hard work. And running a successful one doesn't get much, easier, because more challenges and you're growing. But it is a real slog, and part of what feeds into that challenge is basically just the race to the bottom, and being and not feeling like you're being seen for the value that you're giving.
Don't feel value. Don't you? You say you don't feel appreciated, do you, by all the effort you're putting in? You're not getting that reward.
No, this is the thing. So all of that kind of led to, we go through waves of just being, having enough, especially if it's something that you've put time and effort into, doing proposals and so on. So it came from wanting to grow the revenue, do a better job, get clients that were more interested in technology, that were interested in investing, saw it as an enabler of their business rather than a cost. I'm sure we've all seen that it's kind of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs kind of pyramid. But for IT services, there's a lot of clients, but that kind of don't really see, that historically didn't see technology at the top of that pyramid as being crucial to the success of their business. So we wanted those kind of clients that really saw it as key. So that's what led us to kind of thinking, right, we need to take stock of things. So we basically, with in conjunction, very much a team effort. We had a marketing guy that I still work with today that came in and kind of facilitated some conversations, and with myself and my sales director, which is also my business partner. And what we really do in practical terms, we wanted to get to the point of, we started off by trying to understand what we want from the business.
Yep.
What's the whole BHAG, big, hairy, audacious goal.
Yep.
What do we want to get right at the end of it? And then kind of work back from that. Okay, budget wise, what do we want to get out from it in terms of revenue growth? So there was an element of looking at the figures. It wasn't just about, the fluffy stuff, and also my ex-business partner would call it, it's marketing. Yeah. It's just pictures. Just, let's just get out there and start selling. But but he very much came around to the idea of it, how important it was. So we started off, having conversations around that. Then we started looking at our client base. So, talking practically now, we've started talking about why we saw, why we came to this conversation about a story, and then practically how did we start kind of looking into it. We started looking at our database, looking at our customers, who they were, literally, analyze sector, size, and so on. And then we did, the persona work of, okay, well, who's running these businesses? Let's delve down into, what their challenges, what their opportunities are, and all these kind of things. What's the pain that they're feeling? And we did the persona work, and that kind of exercise did two things. It allowed us to understand what our base was, and is there any opportunities for to pursue
Yeah.
niches.
Yeah.
What's the commonality between
Yeah.
those clients, which is crucial, absolutely crucial. Which is to think about marketing and the
Yeah.
messaging, which I'm sure we'll come on to talk about. But then it started to put us in their shoes, in the way of, when they get up in the morning, what challenges are they having to deal with? They're growing businesses the same as we're growing businesses.
Yeah.
They've got family, they've got an exit at some point in mind. Yeah, they've got the challenges of growing, they've got the challenges of recruitment, all these things that we stress about, they stress about too. But let's kind of note those down and try and dig into those a little bit.
See how your technology can help.
Yeah, so it starts with the client. This is the thing. It starts with the client, and everything should start with the client. Once again, MSPs primarily are grown from tech people. Yeah, there's some outliers that are kind of salespeople. And I know some of the ones that were started by salespeople, and fully enough, they've grown quicker because
There's a funny thing.
you,
They've
you
got out
know
their own way. Yeah.
there's one I've got in mind particularly who was a big competitor of ours, but I won't name him. But done a great job. But a sales guy first and foremost, started selling before he had any IT people. Just outsourced it to another outsourcer.
Right. Fair enough. Yeah.
And now he's running a £20 million plus turnover business.
Wow.
So, but it's mainly started by technical people, and of course, technical people want to talk about the tech, don't they? That's what they feel. That's what they get excited about. But you've got doing this work, thinking about the client first, picturing what their challenges are. You then start thinking about the client and thinking about what their needs are. And as soon as you start doing that, everything is revolutionized. Everything. And I'm talking about your sales pitches, your marketing strategy, the way that your client base think about you, the way your staff think about their job, rather than it thinking about fixing tech. They start thinking about helping clients with their challenges. So that was the first start for us, which was that persona work, and sketching that out. And then it was just a case of, right, okay, we've got a persona, we've got a list of challenges. What's the, and those challenges will also be macro.
Yeah.
What's happening in their economy, in their industry. Micro, what's happening day to day. And then it would be, well, what do they need? What do they need to do this? What outcomes do they need? Not what tech. They don't care about technology. Literally, they do not care. If anybody takes anything from this, I would tell my sales team day in, day out, people don't care about us. They don't care about the technology that we're good with. They don't care about it. The only bit that they do care about is, they don't really care about Microsoft stuff, What they care about a lot of the time is they'll have a line of business application, ABC, XYZ, whatever it is, that's the engine of their business. They care about that because that's tech to them. That's the
Their
engine,
engine, isn't it?
Yeah. So so we did that persona work. Started with the client, and then how what do they need, and then you start thinking about you. Then you start thinking about how do we fulfill that need, and then suddenly you've got a story arch, haven't you? That you can paint. Then you can start thinking about you, what you need to do. It will help you choose your service portfolio. That's the thing. Rather than, that's brilliant, that new widget, I'm going to sell that to everyone. I did a little bit of a Somerset accent where I said widget then. I don't know why. But,
It didn't come across. We can edit it, don't we?
okay.
We've got all sorts of AI stuff going on this podcast. How we have
But yeah, so there's a widget. I'm going to sell that, but you don't even know whether people need it. So that was the practical thing about we started and kind of got that going.
And then, so once you've got all these different elements, then how did you start to bring it alive? What was the thing that turned it into loads of stuff that Matt's gone out and done to something that's useful for people to use, remember, and to embed within the business?
I mean, we storyboarded it.
Okay.
We storyboarded it, and for the simple reason that what did we want to come from that? We wanted to be able to we storyboard it to. The step before was to basically validate what we were doing in terms of a service portfolio, and there's loads that I can talk about, because I started as a sales and marketing guy, but I became an ITIL guy and became an operations guy, and I can wax lyrically about a ITIL service catalog.
That's another podcast.
But yeah, I mean, it basically, the first thing we did was we validated our service catalog, in the fact that is it fulfilling actually the needs of our clients?
Is it going back and lining up with you talk about lining up it's the link between the client and your services. So that story just connects with, is this what they want? Is this how they consume technologies? Is this going to help them overcome their needs and their pains? And it's a great way of kind of let you run with that, because you're getting to the thing on all the different things that you did and how you connected it together. And I'm guessing you involved your team in this as well?
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I mean, the thing for us, I mean, I was part of a partnership, so there was 4 of us who owned the business, so everything had to be collegiate, and you had to take, which is great, because you ended up, you basically, rather, if I was just on my own or one of my partners were on their own, you probably maybe think slightly differently. You think about, this is what I'm going to do. But because I had actual, fellow owners, it meant that you have to be collegiate, and you have to think, we've got to all move this along together, and therefore you naturally then start involving the wider team rather than just the board members.
Just on that point, Matt, did you all have the same belief, outcome, understanding of how this was going to impact the business?
No.
So you didn't?
No.
Right.
Massively
so this is a thing that came up when we talked to a lot of people in the channel. Is, I've got these great ideas. I've been listening to Matt on this podcast. It sounds really good. I want to do it. And your business partner's going, that is a complete and utter load of old waffle. I'm not dealing with it. We don't need to do that. Just get out there and sell. How did you overcome that? How do you respond when someone asks that question about, it's absolutely the right thing to do, and you want, and you're aligned, and you know exactly what you want to do in the business, but there's this one little thing. How do you?
If there's any partnerships listening to this, I mean, it's a challenge. I mean, as I say, there was 4 of us that own the business, and I wasn't the majority shareholder as well. So it was a challenge. I'm a passionate marketeer, so I believe in marketing. I believe in the customer journey has evolved, and you've got to educate before you sell. You've got to get them. You've got to engage with them at the beginning of their buying cycle, not just engage with them at the end of it, and then be surprised that you weren't chosen.
Yeah. Ooh,
so I was a big into marketing, and I believed in spending the pounds to do it. Although in the end, most of the effective stuff that we did was FOC, because it was just us creating content. But the way that we did it is that, as a partnership, if somebody else comes in and says something, you actually quite often take more notice of it, okay? Whereas instead of it's me kind of saying, boys, we need to do this, that, and the other, we need to spend this money, and I'll put together a convincing reason for it. But having a bit of validation from an external source,
that's helpful. Yeah,
is mega helpful. And I wish we'd have got into coach. Having a coach. We grew nicely. We grew 30% every year, pretty much, not far off 30% for the last 3 years. But I mean, we would have been in a much different place if we'd have took on coaching earlier, because a lot of the time we had to re-engineer. I mean, we had to build the plane while flying it, re-engineer as we went on.
Love that analogy.
So it was that external validation was key. I believe in outsourcing, obviously, because I'm an outsourcer. So you've got to outsource what you don't know, and we expect our clients to outsource IT support to us. And although I'm a jack of all trades, master of none. Okay, I believe in marketing, but I got somebody better at marketing in to kind of help us with that strategy, really. And it also then it just helps get everybody on board.
Do you know, it's funny you should say that. We're working with quite a few clients right now, and ones that are kind of relevant to this, and a couple of guys actually who have been working with us for about 18 months now, one a bit shorter, but they literally said, I'm either going to do this and grow this business, or I'm going to sell it because I'm sick of it. I'm sick and tired of it. I'm not energized. I don't really care about it anymore. It's burning me out. And these guys now, and this is kind of what puts hairs on your arms stand up when all of a sudden you're seeing the profit rising from period to period. You're seeing them get energized and say, oh my God, I actually enjoy working in this business right now. You know, and they're both 7-figure MSPs. So they're both serious businesses that are supporting many mortgages and households and things like that. And, you know, to have someone who sort of says, you know what, I'm just sick and tired of this, to go from that to go, oh my God, I just realized I've recruited 4 people this year and my turnover's gone up like 47%. So how's he done that? So we just got more efficient. No sales and marketing. Neither of them have got any sales and marketing in them. So it's really funny. They'll say, oh, I need more leads. Well, in actual fact, if you dig into your existing business, bit of account management, as we kind of spoken about before, building some efficiencies, get the story right so everybody's more efficient. It's amazing how much the boat can pedal faster, isn't it? It's just...
And it's also, do you know what? It's always surprising how much revenue grows when everybody's enjoying it.
Yeah.
Do you know what?
Yeah.
Honestly, and this is the thing, once again, on my tour at local MSPs, you can see various people at various stages of kind of being tired of it. Or, you know, and one of them, I think the mutual guy actually that brought us together, I had a conversation with him not long ago, and he feels so much energized.
Oh man, he's flying.
He's got some operational help in, he's doing what he enjoys.
Yeah,
you know what? And literally, you can't. I mean, part of being off, you know, doing nothing for the last 12 months, pretty much. Do you know what? I've become a little bit miserable because what I love to do is I love to run IT services companies. I love growing teams. There's nothing better than, you know, my team was, a lot of it were graduates that I recruited and then developed, and they're now superstars in different companies across the UK. What, you know, there's so much pleasure with that. And from that, you know, you're engaged, you're happy, they're happy, you know, and suddenly obviously just good stuff comes from it.
Yeah, and it's personal growth, isn't it? Because we start of it, what's it all about? What is it in for you? You know, what do you want to achieve? And I'll never forget the I think it was Zig Ziglar or one of the guys there who said, no, it wasn't. It was Alan Watts. There, guys. He said, if you woke up every morning, that, you know, if money was no object, what would you do every morning? What would consume your day? You know, and for myself, and I know Stuart, it would be just want to help people. Really help people. How cool is that? You could get someone to do something different. And this subject is, you know, is a really, really key one, because this is the cornerstone of the direction of your life. It's the cornerstone of the direction of your business. And all those other people. I mean, how many people did you have in that business when it was?
We had 65 or something.
65 people. Yeah. So you think of the ripple effect of your energy.
Honestly. Oh, do you know what? Look, you can't see. Look, you got hair standing up on my
arms. There you
go.
Got it. Gotcha. I gotcha.
Because this is everybody. I mean, we've got to pay the mortgage and everything, you know. But for me, I was just, you know, the financial side of us, we just grew by a result of just doing a good job, you know, and I bring everything back to either meeting the lady or the man of your dreams, or I bring it back to football and football. It's that young player that basically, you know, starts getting a bit of, you know, gets the big Premiership wages, you know, and then maybe gets offered a move somewhere else for more money. You know, but the advice to all young footballers is just keep playing your football, keep enjoying it, work hard, and the money will come. Don't chase it.
Yeah.
You know, and it's the same with anything in business. Just absolutely enjoy it and do a good job for people. And to bring it back to the story, it kick-started this period where we really, you know, looked at what we were all about, what were our clients' needs, and truly started speaking to them in every way. You know, in our marketing, in the way our account managers dealt with them, in the way we dealt with them, the way we spoke internally.
Yeah,
it kicked on our revenue growth massively, and that was very much linked to, and it very closely connected with just the level of engagement of our staff.
Yeah, employee engagement.
We went through we went through, and after growing for a while, we struggled to get good experienced people in from a sales point of view and everything. So we took a step back and we went and I ran a graduate program where I'd get loads of grads in, and I would basically get them to stand up and tell them a little bit in front of everybody, say a little bit about themselves and whatever else, and then I would choose 2 or 3 to take on. And we built our business on grads and it was hard work to begin with because you had to cover for them. It was hard work training them.
You're the input, aren't you?
But the combination of their youthful exuberance, you having a clear story to tell as to look at these people, look at their business challenges, and look how we're going to help them. Yeah. That led to absolute, rather than your story being, we want to sell more stuff.
Yeah.
Office 365's got a new component out. How do we sell that to them? Your staff retention's not going to exactly fly when you're basic on that's your level of engagement with them. You've got to get people engaged, but you've got to start with being engaged yourself.
Exactly.
Because they will feed off you. They will feed off your energy, and clients will as well. So brilliant. It honestly, it all does come back to enjoying it, doing a good job, listening to your customers, being generous with your time, being generous with your content. Don't try and put out an advert saying, buy my IT services. You've got to put out content saying, listen, hey, I see you, Mr. Customer. I see your challenges, and this is kind of content that will help you overcome those challenges. By the way, we do IT services.
Yeah, if you want to have a chat about overcoming those challenges. Matt, it's been an absolute pleasure. And just before we wrap up, I just want to remind, this is kind of one of those podcasts that goes down a little bit on the mindset thing, mindset sort of the theory and content category as it would be. And I want you listeners to go back and have a listen to episode 111, where Stuart and I talked about getting out of your own way. And this was a really great episode where we find a lot of MSP business owners can get stuck. They kind of lose a bit of confidence. They lose a lot of trust in their team. And that episode will move all of that out of the way so that you can then go back to the beginning of this episode with Matt and start to implement some of the great things that he did and look forward to driving your business forwards. So what was the results then? What was the end outcome of all of this great work that you did then? What was the deliverables effectively, if we were going to put it on a scorecard?
Yeah, no. So just to make it really simple, probably 4 or 5 kind of deliverables came from that. First, it led to our sector specialism. It led to us to make sure that we focused in legal, then became accountants, because we realised we were in a position to help law firms very, very well, and we were passionate about that. So it led to sector specialism, which in itself then, led to better marketing because, hey, we were talking about, digital transformation of law firms, the challenges that they face in terms of, delivering services digitally, all this kind of cool stuff that we could talk about because we were focused on their sector. And then, by the way, we provide IT services that can help you do this. And it led to a much better sales process, a process that we controlled because we would start with, we would engage with a client and we would say, hey, this is what we found is happening in your industry. This is what we found as those challenges. Do you agree with that? And it became the discovery process of whether you were a fit with the client just became a lot more natural, a lot more two-way rather than us just kind of selling them tech stuff. So the sales process became hugely improved.
Conversions obviously increased then.
Yeah, and the conversion rate. I mean, I would say, this my marketing guys. If you ask them what our conversion ratio is, I'd say my conversion ratio is pretty much 1 in 1. Okay, and they would give me stats where they prove that it wasn't. But the reason, and I would say, well, yeah, but I wasn't really after any of those because I'd qualified those out in my mind. The ones that I'd qualified in my mind, we always closed because we did that qualification really, really effectively. And we, the marketing, real content. I'm a huge believer in content marketing, a content marketing strategy. It don't necessarily get you super quick results all the time, but I tell you what, it fuels growth on the long term. And then the other thing was, but better client relationships and more engaged staff, which we've already talked about.
Fantastic. That's absolutely brilliant. So look, you've got this great achievements in your rearview mirror. What's in your sights now? What's going on in your world right now?
Well, you introduced me as a digital transformation evangelist, and which I am. All SMEs are really struggling to kind of use these digital tools to kind of improve back office operations. All these tools that are being sold to and given, they're struggling to engage with their clients digitally, in terms of whether they're onboarding them digitally or giving them updates or whatever it is. So that digital transformation is really a struggle for SMEs. And that's led me to launch an automation business. So, I'm offering automation services, managed automation services to SMEs. So basically automating their processes really quickly and cost effectively. And at the same point, offering that, if there's any MSPs out there that want to offer that service to their clients and make their proposition, their story a little bit more engaging, then reach out. And then the only other thing is I am on the lookout to get back into managed services. I'm a glutton for punishment, Ian, clearly. I'm looking for an MSP to get involved in some way or other, as I don't even know in what way that would be. Invest it, buy it, work for it.
Contact with Matt.
Hang out.
What happens, yeah.
Yeah. So that's where I'm at the moment.
Yeah. No, that's brilliant. Well, thank you very much for your time today. If you want to get in contact with Matt, we'll drop your email address and stuff, if that's okay with you, in the show notes, so they can just contact you there or LinkedIn or wherever it may be. Really inspiring story. Love it. Absolutely anchors a lot of things we're talking about, and you've brought it to life absolutely beautifully today. So thanks ever so much for your time. Good luck in your future ventures, wherever they may take you in this wonderful channel that we live in. And hopefully, at the end of the day, we can help your wife get her house back. All right, mate. Look after yourself. Have a great day.
Yeah, cool. All right, buddy. Take care.
Cheers now. Bye. So I hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, I'd love it if you could leave a rating and review on your favourite podcast platform. If you want to learn more about how to take your MSP to $1 million, or if you're already there, go faster, then come and join Stuart Warwick and myself in the Scale with Confidence Facebook group. The link is in the show notes. You go and enjoy the rest of your day, and I look forward to connecting with you soon.